Good morning, guys. Today we are going to talk about phase shifts with periodic functions, so graphs of sine and cosine. If we look at our equations, y equals sine, and then we have x minus h, with all other functions that we've dealt with, the h is always a movement left and right, and the k is always up and down. This is the same thing that we're dealing with here, but now we have periodic functions. All right, so a phase shift is a horizontal translation of a periodic function. A phase shift of h units moves the graph left if h is less than 0, or right if h is greater than 0. So remember how I told you the x always lies? So if it's a minus h, you move right, and if it's a plus h, you're going to move left. And cosine is exactly the same, left and right, and then your k is up and down. So I want to discuss kind of step by step of what we're doing. So we're going to take an example. Okay, using f of x equals sine x, which is our parent function, as a guide, graph g of x equals sine, and then we have x plus pi over 2. So we're going to identify the x-intercepts and phase shift. So our step one, okay, we always want to start with amplitude and period. Okay, remember our amplitude is our a in the front, so it's the absolute value of a, which is 1, which is still 1. Our period is 2 pi over the absolute value of b. Well, I don't see a number for b, so I know it's 1. So 2 pi is our period. Okay, next we're going to do the phase shift. Okay, remember x lies. So if it's x plus pi over 2, that really means is x minus a negative pi over 2, or you can look at it as just set your x equal to 0, and you have negative pi over 2. Okay, because h equals negative pi over 2, the phase shift is pi over 2 radians to the left. Okay, all x-intercepts, maxima, minima of f of x are shifted pi over 2 units to the left. So we are going to pick up our sine graph and move it 2 units to the left. Okay, then we're going to identify our x-intercepts. Okay, the first x-intercept occurs at the negative pi over 2. Because sine of x has 2 x-intercepts in each period of 2 pi, the x-intercepts occur at negative pi over 2 plus n times pi, where n is an integer. Our fourth step, we want to identify the maximum and minimum values. The maximum and minimum values occur between the x-intercepts. Okay, the maximum occur at 2 pi n and have a value of 1, and the minima occur at pi plus 2 pi n and have a value of negative 1. Okay, our fifth step is to graph using all the information that we just gathered. Now, I know that's a lot of words, and I know a lot of you guys deal with visual material better. So this is what we need. Okay? Your A is your amplitude. So if I look at what I'm graphing, my amplitude is 1. The number before sine, there's not 1, so I know it's a 1. My B is my period. So if I look over here, I don't see a number after sine, so I know it's 2 pi over 1, which is just 2 pi. Okay? I look for my phase shift. Am I moving left or right? So I look here, I know my x lies, so I'm going to move left pi over 2. And I do not have a k, so I don't have to worry about it moving up or down. Now, the purple is my regular y equals sine of x. Okay, so our regular y equals sine of x happens in a period of 2 pi. Okay, do you see my period of 2 pi is still the same? Amplitude is still 1. So 1, negative 1, my max and mins aren't going to change. My period is still going to take 2 pi to complete its cycle. Okay, Now my phase shift is negative pi over 2 to the left. So if 0 to pi is here, pi over 2 is here. So these two represent pi over 2. So every single point is going to move left that much. So 2 pi is going to move left. This negative 1 will move left. And we are moving this distance, negative pi over 2. So every single one is moving to the left. Okay, so the green is my new graph. So this is really all that you need to know. Every time we look at something to graph, identify amplitude. Amplitude is how high and how low am I going to go. Your period. How long does it take to complete an entire cycle? Okay, so this is still 2 pi, just like my original one. We are just moved to the left, negative pi over 2. Okay, and then your K would move it up or down. All right, that's it for today's lesson. Thanks, guys.